Sabrina found herself once again standing at the front desk of an incredibly swanky hotel. The floor was polished marble with beautiful Persian rugs scattered about. The walls were adorned with tasteful contemporary masterpieces. Everything sparkled under the grand crystal chandelier, and a bank of floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a tropical paradise pretty enough for a postcard. Harry appeared from behind the front desk. He was a short Asian man wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a stack of lace in his arms. He placed one around everybody's neck as he welcomed them enthusiastically. When he got to the bears, he discovered he wasn't tall enough to reach over their heads, so he simply placed a lei into each of their paws. Papa Bear promptly ate his. "Aloha!" Harry cried. "Sabrina, Daphne, welcome back to the Hotel of Wonders. Are you here on pleasure or are you here on business or pleasure?" "Neither," Sabrina replied. "In fact, we're just passing through. We've got an emergency on our hands. From what I understand, you and your family find yourselves in emergencies quite frequently," Harry said with a knowing grin. "How can I help?" "We want to use your portal to get to the real world," Henry said impatiently. "Oh, so you slipped in the back way. This way to the portal," Henry announced, escorting everyone through the hotel lobby. "The boss has been here a lot lately. He's pretty busy with his camp. I'm not sure why he doesn't open some rooms to refugees. We have plenty of space." "Knowing him, he probably doesn't want the riffraff ruining the sheets," Sabrina commented. "What does riffraff mean?" Daphne asked. Sabrina automatically opened her mouth to explain, but then remembered the girl's reaction last time she tried to define the word. She decided to let someone else play dictionary for a change. "Riffraff is a mean word rich people use to describe poor people," Veronica said. "Harry, did you say Charming is working with refugees?" Goldilocks asked. "Yes, there were quite a number of citizens in Ferryport Landing who refused to join the Scarlet Hand. Hart and the others ran them from their homes, so the boss has offered them sanctuary in his camp. I hear there's a fairly large population." "Wait a minute!" Henry cried. "Your portal leads us to his camp? Mom, that won't work. We need to go back and pick a different mirror." "Heavens, why?" the old woman asked. "Have you forgotten? He threatened to destroy our family. He said he was going to bulldoze our house." "Billy has changed since you knew him," Granny said as she wiped Uncle Jake's brow with a damp cloth. "Now he's the closest thing we have to an ally in the Everafter community. If Mr. Canis has learned to trust him, so can you." "Mr. Canis is at the camp too?" Red whimpered. Granny took her head. "Liebling, he won't hurt you. You can trust him." The group approached the elevator, where Harry pushed the button labeled P. The door slid open, revealing the portal to the outside world. It showed them a camp hidden in the forest. Everafters were chopping down trees, building houses, and carving spears. "Look, there's Billy now," Daphne said. The former mayor and his diminutive assistant, Mr. Seven, were poring over maps and plans. Seven was one of the world-famous 7 dwarves, and despite his boss's frequent insults, he was always a charming side. Sabrina wondered what kept him so loyal now that the prince could no longer afford to pay his salary. "This is foolish," Henry warned. "Charming can't be trusted." "Harry, it was a pleasure to meet you. You've been a real help," Granny said, shaking his hand. She then sent Papa Bear through the portal with Uncle Jake on his back. Harry grinned and waved goodbye as the rest of the group followed the bear through the portal. Come back soon. We've always got a room for you. The world on the other side of the portal couldn't have been more different from the Hotel of Wonders. Sabrina found herself inside a crude log cabin with a dirt floor and a thatched roof. A few stools were scattered around a rough table with a scale model of Ferryport Landing resting at its center. Charming and Seven were startled by the group's sudden arrival. "Whoa, incoming!" a face cried as it appeared inside another mirror leaning against the opposite wall. This guardian had dark brown skin and long, untamed dreadlocks. He wore big, round sunglasses with peace signs in the lenses. "You can relax, Reggie," Charming said. "They're friends." "'Tis a good thing, but can I get a warning next time you gonna give a man a heart attack?" Reggie said, and then vanished. "Well, are there more coming through?" Charming asked. "Or is it safe to say you've already brought the entire town?" "It's nice to see you too, William," she replied. "We'll be out of your hair as quickly as we came." "Jacob is injured, shot by one of Nottingham's arrows. He needs medical attention immediately," Granny Rhoda pleaded. "Seven, can you take the bear with Jacob to the medical tent?" Charming asked. Mr. Seven hurried Papa Bear out of the cabin to get Jake the help he needed. "Don't worry, Nurse Pratt will take care of your boy, Rhoda," Charming said. "Thank you, William." Jake was attacked by the hand when they came to our house demanding information about well, what exactly are you building here? Charming led the group out into an open courtyard. Sabrina was stunned by what she saw. The image she'd seen in the mirror didn't do the place justice. Charming's camp was actually a huge fort with outer walls over 25 feet high. The compound was large enough to fit dozens of cabins, a mess tent, a makeshift hospital, an armory, and a small farm. Hundreds of Everafters were busy gardening, working with horses, and building more barracks. "Welcome to Camp Charming," the prince announced proudly, "the Everafter's last stand against the Scarlet Hand." Chapter 3. "Look familiar?" Daphne asked Sabrina. An icy feeling crept along her back. Sabrina couldn't believe her eyes. The fortress was nearly identical to the one the sisters had visited during their trip to the future. Like this one, it was built to fight the Scarlet Hand. The girls and Charming had worked hard to make sure that particular future didn't happen, but clearly they hadn't changed it enough. Perhaps there was no way to avoid their dark destiny: war. The Scarlet Hand is harassing Everafters, especially ones who associate with your family. I built this camp as a safe haven, and we've had a steady flow of people seeking shelter, Charming explained. "How did you build this so fast?" Granny Rhoda asked. "You and Mr. Canis fled into the forest only yesterday." "We walk fast around here," a voice said from behind them. They spun around to find Mr. Canis approaching. He was as unkempt as ever, and now sported a black patch over his left eye. He gestured toward a wizard levitating a load of rubble with a magic wand. He was helping construct a well. Daphne wrapped Mr. Canis up in a hug. He almost toppled over, but steadied himself with the cane he now carried. The cane bothered Sabrina. Canis had never needed one before. He looked weak and frail, but he seemed at peace with himself. An easy smile had replaced his trademark scowl. "It's good to see you, child," he said to Daphne, then turned his attention to Sabrina's parents. "Henry and Veronica, welcome. I'm pleased to see you up and about." "Goldilocks woke them up," Daphne said. With a smooch. Puck stuck out his tongue and gagged loudly. Granny took Cadence by the hand. How are you feeling, old friend? A little tired. He shook his cape. It appears I am not a young man anymore. There was a long, uncomfortable pause. Cadence, did he just tell a joke? Henry asked. Cadence shrugged. I tried. Wow, Veronica said. We've missed a lot, haven't we? Yoga and meditation have been invaluable to me. Now that I'm free, I'm starting to remember my life before I became the wolf, slowly but surely, he said, stepping close to Red Riding Hood. He held his hand out to her in friendship. I believe it might work for you too, if you're willing. Red didn't take his hand. She hid behind Granny Rhoda's leg, trembling. It was clear that she was still terrified of the old man. The monster that used to control him had killed her grandmother. She herself had been under the power of a similar creature until the Grimms cured them both, setting the story straight. But all of this had happened very recently. Sabrina couldn't blame Red if she wasn't immediately ready to hang out with the guy who ate her grandma. Perhaps another time, the old man said, and he turned back to Granny Rhoda. I'm told that Jacob has been attacked. Granny nodded. The hands surrounded the house, and Nottingham shot him with an arrow when he confronted them. Cadence turned to Charming. You predicted that tensions would escalate. I'm rarely wrong, Charming said, matter-of-factly. This violence is further evidence that turning the refugees into an army is our best chance of survival. An army? Goldilocks cried. It's clear that the tide is turning toward war. The Hand has taken over the town and run all the humans out. They're hunting down anyone who doesn't agree with them. We need to prepare. And once you beat the Hand, you can point your little army toward taking over the town for yourself, Henry challenged. Charming sneered. I liked you better when you were asleep. What does Snow think of this? Granny Rhoda said, referring to the prince's on-again, off-again girlfriend. Sabrina wondered the same thing. She couldn't imagine Miss White supporting a war effort. She taught a fierce self-defense class called the Bad Apples, but Miss White spent most of class time teaching her students how to block attackers and avoid a fight. Ask her yourself, the prince said, gesturing to an open stretch of field near the far wall of the camp. There, Sabrina saw 24 Everafters doing push-ups in the mud. Snow White stood over them, shouting commands and blasting a whistle. I can't believe it, Goldilocks cried. Miss White is in charge of the camp security, and she's drafted a few of our guests to help out. Unfortunately, our community is a collection of feeble morons. Miss White has her work cut out for her. Miss White? Daphne said. Trouble in paradise, Billy? Sabrina asked. The prince lowered his eyes. She and I are not on speaking terms, he mumbled. If you'll excuse me, Mr. Seven and I have to dig up some extra cots. The refugees keep coming and supplies are growing scarce. They marched across the field, leaving the group behind. I suppose you would like to say hello to our resident drill sergeant, Cadence said, gesturing towards Snow White. That seems to be the end of this video. I'll send more later. Bye.